Good evening and welcome to the SMRC's Winter Cup, the SMRC eSports Racing Winter Cup, a series that the SMRC have put together, powered by Reese Motorsport Insurance and presented as ever by Sim Broadcasts. Tonight, we're at Knockhill for clockwise racing around the famous international Scottish venue, and we are in a car which iRacers will know as the Skippy. For those of you who are not iRacers, it's a Skip Barber Formula 2000 car, which is an American-based race series. John Skip Barber III, who realised after his racing career was finished that coaching was a viable process in racing. So a lot of American drivers and a lot of European drivers have gone over and driven a Skip Barber car. Tonight, though, Knockhill Racing Circuit and the eSports racers for SMRC get to dip their toe in the water. Qualifying has been is underway just now, and practice last night was pretty hot and pretty intense. As ever, iRacing gives us lovely tropical weather at Knockhill. And once again, myself, Duncan, Vincent, I'm joined in the virtual commentary box by Andy Alston, a man who knows single-seaters in iRacing inside out. He's in Formula 3 straight away. But Andy, what do you know about the Skip Barber car?
Well, first and foremost, I know I made a mistake by not going to the Skippy first and jumping straight to Formula 3. I deeply regretted doing that in hindsight. But anyway, very much looking forward to this one. It's going to be a really interesting event. I've got 30 cars out there on track, and the Skippy, as you mentioned, very popular on the iRacing service. Probably one of the first cars that many people buy when they sign up to iRacing. Combine that with the Knockhill circuit, and we have got 3 great races in store for you here tonight.
We have that. Fraser Williamson is the championship leader, the man who won the overall year last year. And I suppose I can get away with saying this. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome to eSports in 2022 at Knockhill. But Fraser Williamson is the championship leader, as we see a car in the background going quite heavily off into the tyre barrier there. That will be a back into the garage for a repair. But he's ahead of Michael Weddle and Adam Brown, rounding out the top 3. We've got Jack Ayre and Scott Smith 4th and 5th, and that's Fraser Williamson, who we could just see in the background going through in the Movano Sims Racer, the black car with the yellow side pods. Ronald Grossman has been a man who has been very fast in this car in free practice. But we also have an interloper tonight, a driver who has been racing for R8G in the virtual Le Mans series. And that's Gordy Much, a man who raced in Britcar, and he also did the Ginettas. Gordy, lovely guy, loves a bit of a chat, so guaranteed no matter what, he will come in to our chat room. But Andy, you're a man again who knows the sim world inside out. What can you tell us about Gordy?
Well, Gordy is very quick, not just in the real world, but the virtual world as well. As you mentioned, part of Romain Grosjean's sim racing team. Gordy's one who is very quick around just about any car that he can get his hands on, just straight on the pace, almost instantly, and knows this track very well, of course. So it's a very good combination for Gordy, and already he is top of the timesheets, but by just 1/10 of a second, because Michael Weddle has pipped Fraser Williamson to the front row of the grid with 3 and a bit minutes gone so far. Here is Gordy Much, car number 3, making his way over the chicane now, and he is looking to just try and extend that gap ever so slightly, I suspect. He'll know all about a couple of the drivers in this championship, and he'll be looking to really go and get a good start to his campaign here tonight. So he has just been leapfrogged, as we say that, by the 369 car of Fraser Williamson. There he is there, just making his way around Duffus now, and he will perhaps be on his last lap, and that will indeed be his last lap, and he will be signing out in quite spectacular style as he goes into the barrier. So Fraser Williamson is in pit lane, will not improve on that lap, but he is currently in provisional pole, and he has been pipped once more. Gordy Much goes back on pole position, beating Fraser Williamson by 1/10 of a second. Here comes Michael Weddle now. Can he improve on 3rd place on the grid? He crosses the start-finish line, and he will remain 3rd at the moment. He's got one more lap to improve on that time.
That was quite a big off for Fraser Williamson there, and it's not something we're used to seeing him do, but that's a couple of cars now that we've seen swapped ends pretty easily going through. Leslie's the left-hander at the bottom of Duffus Dip, so that's something the drivers are going to very much have to keep their eye on. Jack Ayre, one of the Rethink Racing guys, comes across the line, currently in P4, goes up 1 place to P3, but it's Gordy Much with a 55.0 who leads the way. In free practice, it was a 54.6, the fastest time which Gordy Much managed to put down. Fraser Williamson in the pit lane for repairs. Jack Eyre, Michael Weddle, as we see coming in towards the hairpin, the Scottish Mini Cooper Cup champion of 2021. He will be back in 2022 with the SMRC to defend that championship, but now he goes for a lap. Can he get himself up from 4th position onto maybe the front of the grid? No, he can't. And just behind him, another single-seater race, Michael McPherson, who we see stopped on the track there. Michael, a very renowned British Championship Formula Ford racer, ahead of Adam Brown, John Higgins Jr., who's in 7th. Rumour has it, John Higgins himself has bought a sim rig. So the old fox himself has dipped his hand into those very deep, very full pockets and purchased a sim rig. Whether he's making a comeback for the Legends, we don't know, as Grossman slots himself into 6th place, but James Warrior and Scott Smith, the Knockhill garage mechanic, number 5, run out the top 10 with 6 minutes gone of qualifying. It's very important to get yourself on the, I would say, Andy Alston, the front 2 rows of the grid here, because this, as you said in the pre-show, off air, this could be wishbones, wheels and bits of car flying everywhere if you get it wrong.
Yeah, it certainly could. And what we've seen already in this Winter Cup is just the importance of getting a nice, clean first lap. We had it in the Jettas to get us going. Very different style of car, of course, but it was all about just being clean and consistent and then building from there. However, when you throw into the mix 30 cars out there on track, it makes it even more important that you get your car around the first lap, if anything, and then really build on it from there.
So we're watching the cars from the outside, but let's now take a lap around Knockhill Racing Circuit with Ronald Grossman, and let's watch him as he comes out of the hairpin in that very distinctive Skip Barber view. As we can see up the main street here, the car is quite pliable, it's quite user-friendly, a lot of suspension movement as he comes underneath that Beatson's building supply bridge towards Duffus Dip. And hold on, breathe in, use as much track as you can. Watch him bounce over the apex curb at the top and at the bottom. You can see the car in front of him all over the place in shapes and sizes. Grossman, though, very neat and tidy through the apex of McIntyre's Butchers, and then holds his breath for the chicane. A lot of curb, but the car lands and uses as much of the track as he can on the exit. Brake as wide and as late as you can at Clark's. Watch that inside wheel, likes the curb usage at the apex of Clark's, and he's now picking up a pretty hefty tow. These cars do pull up on each other as they head round towards the hairpin. What he's got to do now, he's got to pick a braking point, get down the gears and make sure he's not losing the back of the car as he turns in. He gets a good exit from the corner, the car in front a bit sideways. Grossman's lap time, 54.5, and just look at him again, gaining on the slipstream up the main straight. A good, clean, fast, clinical lap for Ronald. If last night's qualifying or practice was anything to go by, he will be featuring today, although 6th position in qualifying just now. But Andy, he's only half a second off. You can see the grid. We've seen closer grids in the SMRC Winter Series and eSports Cup, but for the single-seater stuff, half a second, it's not the end of the world for Ronald.
No, it's not, and Ronald has shown that he's very, very quick in this Winter Cup. Last time out in the Mazda MX-5 didn't quite go to plan for him around the anti-clockwise layout, but we know he's got pace, and I suspect he'll be fairly happy with that, and he'll be keen to really just build on a 6th place start, or 6th place at least at the moment. But certainly one driver worth an eye on here. Yeah. Very quick in practice, and if he can get a good clean getaway, then he really could make his way up the field.
Only man sub 55 seconds is Gordy Much, car number 3 with a 54.93 second lap. Fraser Williamson is back on track, and if he wants to do anything, he's going to have to do it pretty quickly, but they only have a set amount of laps. But here we pick back up with Fraser just now, 9 minutes 4 seconds gone. What can he do? He is on a live lap as we see him come through there, but that's yeah, he's not going to get that back in a hurry. Fraser trying just a little bit too hard, maybe getting pushed a little bit out his comfort zone here by Gordy Much. The emergence of the speed that Gordy's bringing, Fraser maybe having to drive a little bit harder than he normally would, or who knows, just maybe not a car that he's very much in love with. Ronald Grossman is on a lap, 4 seconds into it just now. In fact, he's through the back of Clark's. Will he, I was waiting to say Andy Alston, will he get to finish his lap? Will he have enough time? But he's kind of shot himself in the foot there by using a little bit too much gravel at the exit of Clark. So that looks like we have a grid set as we wait the last dying couple of minutes of qualifying here at Knockhill Racing Circuit for the SMRC eSports Winter Cup. Presented by Sim Broadcast and Reese Motorsport Insurance, which brings us, Andy, remember, if you're watching this and you want to let us know who you think your Reese Motorsport Insurance driver of the day should be, we would like to know that. So you can maybe drop that in one of the various chats on one of the screens. And Andy, Alston, and myself always have a bit of a chat about it. And ultimately, Andy, when we do chat about it, we ruin somebody's night, don't we, without them knowing it.
Yes, because there does tend to be a couple of drivers looking at, and then when we say those are the ones that could be winning the accolades, something inevitably happens, and that happened last time in the Mazdas in particular. So, fingers crossed, it's not a repeat here in the Skippies tonight.
Got much on pole from Fraser Williamson with Jack Eyre and Michael Weddle on row 2. Row 3 with Michael McPherson, Arnold Grossman and Adam Brown and John Higgins Jr. make up row 5. 4 or 5. Owen Ross and Scott Smith, the garage mechanic, are 9th and 10th, with James Warrior and James McIntosh down in 12th place for RPM Racing.
It's Ryan Smith alongside Cameron Ritchie, Del Smith in 15th with Robert McGregor in 16th. Peter Mackay starts this one from 17th place alongside Gaz Brown. Then it's Mark Herron, John Duncan, David Bolton, Tom Jones, Sean Dobie and Michael Johnston in 24th.
Now, I completely forgot about Peter Mackay, and I must apologise, Peter Mackay, because he didn't make the last round. He submitted his place to Owen Patterson, who arrived and gave us some fabulous racing, the young motorcycle racer from Scone. Owen not here this week because we have got Peter back, but the lights are a full complement, and out they go down towards Toughest Dip for the first time of asking, and Gordy Much absolutely nails the start. He's going to lead from Fraser Williamson, Jack Eyre, Michael Weddle and Grossman. As we come down, we wait for any mishaps to happen in the mid-pack, but the top 5, 6 all through Toughest Dip and Leslie's together and holding it on track, which is good to see. Change of position further down for Ryan Smith, James McIntosh and Robert McGregor, but already Gordy Much coming under pressure from Fraser Williamson as they go through the Black Circle chicane and climb up towards Clark Corner. Lap number 1, they'll come over the crest of Clark Corner, trying to keep the car in as straight a line as possible before they head round towards the hairpin. A great overtaking opportunity at Knockhill, but it's been an extremely clever and clean first lap from everybody as we pick up with John Higgins Jr. making a move on Scott Smith in towards the hairpin. Smith on the outside, up the inside goes Junior. A good, clean overtaking manoeuvre there for John Higgins Jr. And he gives Scott Smith a little bit of room to play with. And Smith is now in the slipstream of Owen Ross. That's going to pull him up alongside and past Junior for the end of lap 1. Gordy Much leads away. Car number 3 from 369, Fraser Williamson.
Yeah, all 30 cars still out there on track, which is good to see. Gordy Much got a very good gap there as well, almost 0.3 of a second on Fraser Williamson. James McIntosh just had a moment there. He goes tumbling down the order on your left-hand side of the screen. So we'll have to see what happened with that one. But he's gone well down the standings. Just picking up here with the 159 of Sean Dobie, currently down in 22nd place. So starting on. In fact, there's contact there, and that is the number 8 car that has gone off. It's John Higgins Jr. just been tagged there on the outside of Clark, and John Higgins Jr. has really had a disastrous start to this race, but we'll pick up with the action back at the front because Gordy Much is coming under lots of pressure here from Fraser Williamson. Gordy takes the inside, forcing Fraser out on the outside line, side by side, almost across the start-finish straight, but Gordy has got enough to have that threat covered, and he will retain the lead of this race. So it's still Gordy Much, 0.1 of a second is the gap from him and Fraser Williamson. And interestingly here, Duncan, what we've seen Fraser Williamson do is Fraser just has a little bit of a moment on exit. Fraser's not one to throw that car up the inside into McIntyre. He would rather bide his time and then move later in the lap.
Yeah, and there we see the John Higgins manoeuvre there. Junior, unfortunately, sideways going through the heart of the corner. Looked like it just slowed him down a bit and tagged in the back. Unfortunately, put him into the gravel trap on the inside and puts him well down into 25th position just now. But Gordy Much, yeah, I agree with you, Andy. Fraser can be a little bit reluctant to make that do or die manoeuvre. He doesn't need to beat Gordy Much for the championship right now because he's ahead of Michael Weddle. Weddle, a good half second behind him just now on track. However, we know what Fraser's like. Fraser Williamson will want to win this. He will want to beat Gordy Much. He will want to take the scalp of Gordy Much as we pick up with Cameron Ritchie going over the crest of the hill. He's behind Robert McGregor there. Robert McGregor trying to hold back, but unfortunately not available. Cameron in a very distinctive kind of colour scheme in that car. I do like that. Number 27, Cameron Ritchie. Is that a bumblebee or is it a wasp? Or is it a bad effort at a Jordan? Sorry for saying that, Cameron, but I just did. There we go. As he comes through the chicane and up the back straight, definitely making a good manoeuvre up to the back of 117. Robert McGregor, who's in a different livery from what he sent me during the week. He promised something completely different, and he's completely confused me by pulling up in that car side by side ahead of them, though. That will be Ryan Smith and Scott Smith. No relation are these two guys in the hairpin, and up the inside goes Scott Smith on Ryan Smith, who will be racing real world cars this year. So Scott Smith is the rumour. He's going to be making an appearance in Scottish Legends with Andrew Donald's race team, so we'll see how he gets on. But into the race, lap 5, it's Gordy Much who leads away from half a second over Fraser Williamson. But as we get to them at Butchers, it's a lot tighter than that now. And is Michael Weddle, Andy Alston, starting to drag himself up to the back of Fraser Williamson?
Oh, Michael Weddle has just posted the fastest lap of the race last time out with a 54.8, and he is beginning to reel in the two cars ahead of them. Let's ride on board here with car number 7, Michael Weddle, just beginning to close in on Fraser Williamson and Gordy Much. But Jack Hare is also in the mix here as well. We could potentially have a 4-car fight for the first race win here tonight. So Michael Weddle getting a very clean exit there out of the chicane, using all of the slipstream just to once more reel in the two cars ahead of him.
I absolutely love that camera view, especially with the Flymo. There is a hidden joke there with everybody here. Michael Weddle, his nickname is Flymo. He does spend quite a lot of time on the grass in real life racing, so he's definitely loving that with the orange colour scheme and the Flymo non-sponsorship there. But got to say, it looks like they're dropping Jack Hare, who's down in 4th place just now. Gaz Brown's had a moment. He's found himself all the way down in 23rd position. You may have noticed him tumbling down on the left-hand side of your screen in the pylon as we go on board with Fraser Williamson. Now, just watch the slipstream here. He got a good exit from Clark. He's gaining all the time on Gordy Much. Will he have a manoeuvre up the inside? Gordy defends. You can see that he just sits his car in the middle of the circuit. Fraser gets really, really close to the back of that gearbox in the back of the Skip Barber car. I'm reluctant to call them Skippies because I had a Skippy in lockdown and I filled it full of rubbish. So we'll maybe not go there. I like Skip Barber, but again, you can see the slipstream effect working brilliantly underneath that Beatson's Building Supply bridge. And Weddle just out of it just now. Now, the white car with the green nose cone's Michael McPherson, and he is fighting away with Adam Brown, who's the white car with the red nose cone. What a manoeuvre from McPherson. He sells him a great dummy at the top. That was a classy manoeuvre. Can he complete it at McIntyre's? No, he can't. Adam Brown gets the elbows well and truly out, and Ronald Grossman has now come to play in that party as well. Andy, great little bit of opportunity driving there from Michael McPherson.
Very much so, and Ronald Grossman is just waiting in the wings as well. I suspect he's got 2 cars scrapping right in front of him, and he will be there to pick up the pieces. But yes, fantastic driving between Adam Brown and Michael McPherson. We've always got a change at the lead here as well, coming out the exit of the hairpin. Gordy Much coming under a little bit of pressure from Fraser Williamson, but Michael Weddle is very much in contention as well. We've got 3 cars making their way now across the start-finish line for the 8th lap here in the inaugural race tonight. Michael Weddle still in 3rd place here, just following, just waiting to pick his moment. That's what Michael Weddle does so well in these events. He's not one to make a move early and then try and fight from the front. He will bide his time and then make a move towards the end of the race. He takes all the cup and then some, and Weddle's gone off. That is going to compromise him severely here, because Jack Hare will come into the play here also. The purple car just at the end of your screen. But Gordy Much still leading the way from 0.2 of a second. Michael Weddle, however, has it all to do.
Yeah, Michael Weddle, I can tell you this, for somebody who's raced single-seaters around Knockhill, that looks so realistic, and just the tiny little movements that you do on a steering wheel around Knockhill Racing Circuit to get yourself through those first 3 or 4 corners. But Michael there, unfortunately, too much apex curb on the first curb at the chicane, and it upsets the car. You can see he was then nowhere near the second curb. We'll get a replay just now. As he comes down, he takes too much curb there. He's nowhere near that second curb, and that makes him run out the road. And unfortunately, all that hard work that he did and put in there to drag himself up towards the back of Fraser Williamson is undone with that little costly manoeuvre. But never give up, Michael Weddle. He's going to be coming back. Fastest lap of the race, 3:69. Last time round, Fraser Williamson in the Movano Sims Racer, and Fraser has got a charge on. We've seen this quite a few times, though. He catches up to Gordy Much, but Gordy, he's got racecraft as Gordy. He knows what this is all about. Positions himself in the position where he needs to be to fight off Fraser Williamson, but not compromise his overall lap time. And he's not starting to defend too early, which is also very important. Out of the hairpin, up the main straight, grabbing gears. Let's see if the slipstream works for Fraser Williamson here, as Gordy Much just comes away from that pit wall, puts himself in the middle of the track, so ultimately he's covered off, because Duff is dip. Unless you're alongside Andy Alston, it's not a place you're going to be making a manoeuvre.
Got to be very, very brave to make it stick in there. But Gordy, I'm just noticing over the last few laps, seems to get a very clean exit out of Clark's in particular. That's then allowing him just to try and fend off the slipstream that Fraser Williamson's looking to try and move. And then he's, by default, not having to really defend too much going into the hairpin. So this corner here is where Gordy's getting a very clean exit, just taking all of the track, all of the curb, and then a little bit more. But it's allowing him, look at the timings on your left, the gap's not tumbling down quite so much. Fraser has not got enough to pull alongside, and that is giving Gordy the momentum and allowing him to focus on the track ahead of him rather than in the rear view mirrors.
Yeah, well spotted, Andy Alston. It's like he's got the perfect line through Clark's, and he's also got a good exit from the hairpin, which has given him a bit of help up that hill towards the start-finish line. Remember, the start line's at the top of the hill at Knockhill Racing Circuit. The finish line's at the pit entrance, at the start of that pit wall on the left, the blue that you can see. As we look a little bit further down for Scott Smith, Ryan Smith, Robert McGregor. Behind them, we've got Mark Hearn, but Scott Smith and Ryan Smith, well, they've been joined together for the entirety of this race. Smithy looking up the inside of Smithy at Duffy's Step, and Ryan does Scott. Now, does him there because he was alongside him on the way, and that's how we do it. Scott Smith tries to go back at McIntyre's, and Robert McGregor just lurking all the time in 11th place, who we saw having a fabulous race meeting the last time out in 2021, it was actually, when we were going anti-clockwise, if I'm not mistaken. So remember, have your say for the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. Myself and Andy Alston would like your help. And the guys back at base, we've got Pete and Mo. We would also like your help. Get in touch with us. Let us know who should be your pick for the Reese Motorsport Driver of the Day. But right now at the hairpin, it's Ryan Smith holding off Scott Smith and the incoming Robert McGregor. But 10 minutes gone in the race. Gordy Much with a 2/10 of a second lead from Fraser Williamson, and Michael Weddle will be ruining that little mistake that he made at the corner we're coming up towards now as we go on board. This is fabulous viewing from Fraser Williamson as he gets a good clean run through the chicane there up towards Clark Corner. Now, does he do anything different here? Is he altering his line? Can he get a good exit? Well, into the gravel goes Gordy Much, but that doesn't hold him up. There's traffic ahead. Much will see this, as will Williamson. Will Williamson have a go up the inside? As Andy Alston said many a time, Fraser's not the man to throw it all on the line and do a silly, lurid lunge. The traffic getting out of the way for us here. But as we come towards the closing part of this race just now, it's still Gordy Much and Fraser Williamson at the front from Michael Weddle.
And will the traffic come into contention here for Fraser Williamson? Will he decide just to sit and let Gordy have to do the hard work here and perhaps be there to pick up the pieces? Gordy going very, very sideways there on the exit of Duffus and into McIntyre. There's one of the back markers getting out of the way there. However, we've got another one to contend with around the chicane. That is going to cost Gordy Much here. Does move out the racing line, but that will give Fraser Williamson a little bit of a chance here, I suspect, into Clark's. Gordy going a little bit wide there on the 13th time of asking. This could be the moment for Fraser Williamson. The gap is tumbling down from 1/10 of a second. Gordy commits to the inside line very early. That is going to force Fraser to go the long way around. Will he perhaps even try and get a cutback here on exit? He thinks about it. Not quite enough to get alongside Gordy this time round. So Gordy Much still leading the way here, but once more takes a defensive line. He goes very, very narrow indeed along the start-finish straight. Fraser's got to go the long way around, side by side. Almost they go, but Gordy Much retains the lead of this race.
This is the biggest pressure that we have seen Gordy Much under, and Fraser Williamson is now starting to flex his sim racing muscles over the back of Gordy Much. Gordy coping with the pressure as they go through the chicane. We saw Fraser make a mistake here in qualifying as McPherson goes underneath and holds off Ronald Grossman. That is sensational driving from those two guys side by side through the top of Duffus Step, and all four wheels still attached to each car. Sensational stuff there. Different lines through the chicane. Grossman looks like he's compromised himself a little bit on the exit. But as Andy Alston and myself are getting a little bit excited with these two leaving the hairpin now, that was a messy hairpin for both these guys. The gap, as you can see, is closing on the left-hand side, and we're 12 minutes into this race. 15 laps of the race completed. These cars do chew the laps up very quickly, side by side at Duffus Dip. Again, I've got to say that Gordy Much using all his real-world and sim-world racecraft to the point here, as trying to cut back on the exit off McIntyre's was Fraser Williamson. Great blimp cam shot for Knockhill Racing Circuit here as we see them going up the back straight. Now, Was that a little bit wide for Fraser Williamson there? Well, not really, because he's still right on the gearbox of Much. And this is where Gordy Much has been stronger. But I've got to say, it looks like Fraser Williamson, and that time round as Scott Smith goes underneath Ryan Smith. But thankfully, there's no contact at the apex. Then we've got Robert McGregor and Mark Hearn. Also, a 4-car battle now for what we've got 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th as well. Or 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Sorry, bit of contact there with Michael McPherson and Ronald Grossman. These two guys have been extremely close. I do feel that Ronald Grossman probably thinks he should be further up the leaderboard than where he is just now. But 30 minutes into this race, Andy Alston, it has very much all kicked off as the two side-by-side leaders into McIntyre's. Once again, trying to cut back is Fraser Williamson. But Andy Alston, how long can Much withstand this pressure?
Well, Gordy Much has done the exact same move on the exit of Duffus 2 laps in a row, and that has really closed the door on Fraser Williamson. But this is the part of the track where Williamson will want to use as much slipstream as possible, throw the car up the inside into the chicane, and then almost do a little bit of a block pass and just eliminate any potential opportunity for Gordy to cut back on. But Gordy once more goes narrow. Williamson momentarily sticks his nose in front, but he cannot make the move on exit. We've got a little bit of traffic to contend with here. Gordy Much once more committing to the inside line, but there's traffic here as well. Gordy will be getting a slipstream, but he'll want that car out the way. This is music to the ears of Fraser Williamson, though. The white flag goes out. This will be the last lap of the race. Williamson throws the car up the inside, and Fraser Williamson almost makes that move on Gordy Much. Gordy holds on once more, takes the inside line into McIntyre. Gordy Much still leads the race with half a lap to go. There's under a tenth of a second between them, almost side by side into the chicane as well. But Gordy Much once more hanging on to the lead of this race. Fraser Williamson is not done yet, though.
Defending into Clark's for Gordy Much. He's gone in tight, so that's going to make him lame on the exit. And here comes Fraser Williamson. He's winding up the Skip Barber car. Gordy Much goes defensive over to the right-hand side. Fraser Williamson ducks out from that. He's going to have to try and go the long way round. He makes Gordy Much go extremely tight on the way in, but Fraser locks up on the way into the corner, and it's going to be Gordy Much who withstands the pressure and will take race number 1 here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Fabulous, fabulous online sim racing from Gordy Much and Fraser Williamson in race number 1. Michael Weddle rounds out the podium with Jack Ayre 4th, Adam Brown and everybody else coming through. Robert McGregor, Ryan Smith and Scott Smith come through the hairpin, and Scott Smith has got himself up to 9th place for this one. He'll be delighted with that one. The Knockhill Garage Mechanic will come across the line ahead of Smithy, McGregor and Mark Hearn, who also put in a very spirited run towards the end of that race. Is that Michael McPherson leaving the pit lane there after a bit of damage? And is that John Higgins Jr.? You know, when it's not going your way and things go wrong, it just seems to catch up with you more and more. So poor John Higgins there, after being in the gravel on the first lap, after getting punted off at Clark Corner, now heads for the pit lane, and he'll come back and try and do a bit of a comeback race in race number 2, which follows race number 1 directly. But Gordy Much comes into the pit lane ahead of Fraser Williamson, and that was a brilliant display of driving from both of those drivers. Well, that's race number 1 done. Remember, note that in your little diary, your notebook. You've got Andy Alston there, who will get the Reese Motorsport Tech Driver of the Day after that one. But there's your finishing order right now. We'll give you the top 10. It's Much, Williamson, Weddle, Ayre and Brown, the top 5, with Ross, Scott Smith, Ryan Smith, Robert McGregor and Mark Hearn down in 10th place. Well, that was good, and it's only going to get better because these guys are going to get faster and faster on the track. And what I think we should also say is there was no real big incidents in that one. Everybody was very well behaved. And once again, the cars are on the grid for race 2. We wait for Gordy Much, the pole sitter, to suddenly magically appear, as he does there. Changes colour, gets into his proper skin, and now we await the lights on the Beatson's Building Supply Bridge to come out for race number 2 here at Knockhill in the SMRC eSports Winter Cup. On come the lights. Full complement of green lights, out they go, and it's again a very even start from the front row as they come down towards Duffus Dip underneath that Beatson's Building Supply Bridge. And Gordy Much holds off Fraser Williamson, Michael Weddle and Jack Ayre. Jack Ayre all over the back off Michael Weddle, and everybody else fans out further down the pack and gets through. Oh, there's contact. Was that McPherson? Somebody disappearing stage right going down Duffus Dip there. Difficult to see. Michael Weddle, though, is ahead of Fraser Williamson. So Michael Weddle, after making that silly little error at the chicane in race number 1, which cost him because he was right on the back of these guys at the front, is now ahead of Fraser Williamson. Jack Eyre also goes into the gravel, exit of Clark, but round towards the hairpin for the first team of Askin. Gordy Much with a nice, handsome 7/10 of a second lead. He will be delighted with that at the end of lap 1. And a little bit of contact going in there. Now, that looked like it was Jack Eyre, and also was that Adam Brown. Adam looked like he was going in hot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Andy Alston, but Adam looked like he was going in hot there. Maybe just got a helping tap from Jack Eyre.
Yeah, just let's take a look at the replay here. Car number 16, Adam Brown. We're just looking at the red car on the inside there, the 127 also. But it looks like Brown just locks up and just spins of his own accord.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no other cars collide in that incident. But let's just get a second look here with the onboard shot. So Adam Brown trying to go side by side with Jack Eyre here, but he has got one car to contend with on the right hand side. Just locks up, nothing he can do. The rear of the car's already gone. Jack Eyre manages to just avoid contact there, but Adam Brown, after a very promising start, has gone well down the order.
Looked like Adam.
Sorry, I was just going to say, it looks like Jack Eyre's had a little bit of a moment there as well. Also, just a little bit slow in the exit of Clark, down into 10th place here. Just trading places with Peter Mackay on exit as well. But all sorts of drama here in the first couple of laps in this race.
It looked like Adam Brown was fixated on getting past the car he was alongside and just didn't realise the corner was coming up in front of him there. The closing speed was quite horrific, as this looks horrific as well. In towards Duffy's Dip, 3 wide, through the apex. Contact is at Ryan Smith into the back of Scott Smith. It was Scott Smith looking very energetic with the steering wheel through the apex of Duffy's. That's contact with McGregor for Ryan Smith, so 2 bits of contact at 2 corners. And after the calm nature of race number 1, it's all gone completely wrong when the mid-pack in this one. Robert McGregor runs wide there, loses 2 positions. That's Jack Eyre and Owen Ross sneaking through. And these guys need to just calm down a little bit and it will help them out. But at the front, out of shot just now, it's Gordy Much, and he's 7/10 of a second ahead of Michael Weddle and Fraser Williamson. But this is where the action all is, as everybody fans out in towards the hairpin. Robert McGregor with that kind of manoeuvre at the chicane where he just lost a little bit of momentum, and unfortunately that cost him dearly going up the back straight towards Clark, Owen Ross and Jack Eyre. You don't need to offer them anything. They will be straight through a little gap if they can see it. And Jack Eyre under pressure from Owen Ross there, side by side through Duffy's Dip. This is incredible racing from these guys, how they're not having any contact. And then through McIntyre's as well. Kudos to those guys. Jack Eyre uses a bit of gravel. Side by side through Butchers. He's going to have to use the inside curb here. This could go horribly wrong. Jack Eyre off into the gravel. Well, sometimes discretion is a better part of valour, and if he'd have backed out with that one, he wouldn't have lost half as much ground as he has. But it's very easy, Andy Alston, to say that in the commentary box, isn't it?
Oh, Jack Eyre's had a disastrous couple of corners here. Further contact on Clark. He's managing, thankfully, to keep the car facing the right way, but he's gone tumbling down the order here. One car just worth keeping an eye out here. Currently 6th place man Robert McGregor. He has got damage on the rear wing of that car, and the car was very, very loose coming down Duffy. So Robert McGregor is going to really just have to use every trick in the book to hold on to that 6th place, because we've got Ryan Smith, Mark Herring, John Higgins Jr., Peter Mackay, Ronald Grossman, lots of quick drivers keen to make moves. So keep an eye on the 117 car here. And there is further contact on the entrance into Duffus. And the first race, there wasn't too many big incidents, but it is all kicking off here in race number 2. Back at the front though, Michael Weddle in 2nd place, coming under a little bit of pressure from Fraser Williamson. With Gordy Much still leading the way once more. Car number 3 still in front in the second race here tonight. But Michael Weddle, very, very close. As Fraser Williamson, a little bit of contact there as well on exit of the chicane. And that will allow Gordy Much just to extend that gap ever so slightly at the front now. 4/10 of a second is the lead at the front.
Remember, John Higgins Jr. started at 20th position. Well, you mentioned his name there. He's now up to 9th place. So 20th to 9th. That's a bit of a comeback drive for Junior, but he's not one to be noticed for these comeback drives. Need to make sure he's starting at the front and finishing at the front. We just saw an incident at Duffy's Dip, 3 wide in towards Duffy's Dip, and then, as Andy, you were calling it, it just went all horribly, horribly wrong. Let's get a replay of that just now. Jack Eyre on the inside, Ronald Grossman, and then car number 97 as well. And Oak Grossman dinks into the side of him, then gets T-boned halfway down the hill. And it just went from bad to worse, about 3 wide in towards Duffy's Dip. Nobody really wanting to give an inch there. And unfortunately, Grossman wheel-to-wheel contact, puts the other car up in the air, and off he goes. But it's Gordy Much who leads at the front. 5 minutes into this race. Only 5 minutes into this race, and we've had so much action already. So something we really need to get ourselves back up to speed with is the amount of action these Skip Barber cars give us. Fraser Williamson is under pressure from his good friend and flying wheel lover, Michael Weddle, who currently sits in third place. Now, Will Weddle, well, really, he knows he's got the pace, Andy. We've seen that already. But just that silly mistake in race number 1 where he used too much curb here, he'll have known he'd done it the minute he hit the curb. Will that still be playing in his mind, Andy, or will he have forgotten about that?
I think Michael Weddle's the type of driver that can very quickly put an incident to the back of his mind, and that's such a strong thing to have in your skill set, really. Weddle's just able to focus on apexes and exits and really just get his head down. So currently in third place, just dropped back ever so slightly from Fraser Williamson, but I suspect he'll be happy enough as we gradually approach the midway point of this race. But all sorts of drama here going into the chicane. We've got 5 cars going into the chicane, but one's certainly not going to wake his way out, and it's a 127 car of Owen Ross. It lost his rear wing for his troubles as well, so they have to go into pit lane. Owen Ross very, very disappointed with that one. Not a lot he could have really done either, but his race has gone from bad to worse. Back at the front, 0.5 of a second is the gap between Gordy and Fraser Williamson. Michael Weddle, though, hot on their heels.
I was just about to say, what a run by Owen Ross in the last couple of races. Now, let's see what happened here. Owen in towards the hairpin. Was he tagged from the back? It did look like it. Robert McGregor behind him. Robert into the back of him there on the brakes on the way in. Round he goes then. Oh, the rear wing just decides it's had enough and falls off. And then a little bit of possible contact with Jack Eyre. But I was just about to say, I'm very impressed with how Owen Ross is getting on. He's showing very well, but unfortunately, that's what happens. It's the commentator's curse, isn't it? Back at the front, though, this is what we haven't seen too much of tonight. It's Gordy Much, Fraser Williamson, and here's Duncan Vincent's favourite view now as we go on board with Fraser Williamson in towards McIntyre, which is a genuine overtaking manoeuvre, but it's a kind of a block pass if you can make it work. Down through Butcher's big compression, blind over the crest of the chicane, bounce, hope you land, and don't run out of road on the exit before you climb up towards Clark's. Now, Fraser knows exactly what Gordy Much has got in his locker. And if anything, Fraser a lot tidier through Clark Corner. He needs to make this one work. Gordy Much will see him coming in the mirrors, just goes over to the right-hand side, defends it, as you're allowed to do. Does he make himself lame on the exit of the corner? Well, no, not really. But Fraser really needs to put him under more pressure on the exit, as he's doing now. He gets a good run through. But by the time the slipstream and everything kicks in, Andy Alston, he just runs out of road.
Yes, exactly. He's pretty much doing everything right here, apart from just that little bit of the exit there, just to get alongside and make the move stick. So Gordy Much, this part of the lap here, Gordy is so impressive. The way he just slides the car round and down the hill, and it just completely nullifies any potential move that Fraser can make into McIntyre. Then when they come up the chicane, again, Gordy's got the momentum. This part here, I think, is quite interesting. Gordy's taken just ever so more curb on the exit and the entrance into the corner than what Fraser is. Fraser's kind of sitting more towards the white line, whereas Gordy's just running the left wheels on the curb. That's just ever so slightly opening up Clark Corner and giving Gordy that nice clean exit as well. Fraser's almost trying a bit of a cutback here into McIntyre's. Gordy's got that one covered though, so Fraser is going to have to think again here with just over 5 minutes gone to go in this race. 1/10 of a second once more is the gap, but Gordy Much is hanging on to the lead of this race and forcing Fraser Williamson to try everything in his power to get past, but it's just not happening for the 369 car at the moment.
And Fraser's very much aware as well that if he does make a move and it doesn't work, behind him is Michael Weddle, so there's a possible losing of position, not just not getting past. But I have to say, if the boot was on the other foot here and it was Gordy Much that was chasing Fraser Williamson, there would have been several bits of Much's car alongside through and maybe over the top of Fraser Williamson. Gordy would be very much less patient than Fraser Williamson is being right now. But Gordy Much is driving this so incredibly well. He's just positioned himself exactly where Fraser Williamson needs to be. Got to say, last time it looked like Fraser did have a good run up the main straight. Now this is where it counts. He's just coming out alongside. He's got a wheel alongside the inside. He needs to be brave on the brakes here and just have this duff his dip. He needs to give Gordy Much one option. If you turn in, I am there. Williamson hits the front for the first time at Knockhill on this one, but round the outside goes Gordy Much. Gordy can see what's happening. He's going to try and cut back through the heart of McIntyre's here. Can he do it? Side by side towards Butchers. That is sensational. What's going to happen here to the chicane? He backs out of it. Good driving there from both of them as they go through the chicane. Michael Weddle, grandstand manoeuvre as they come up towards Clark's. Williamson leads as they come through Clark Corner in the 369 Movano Sims, and that took four corners and almost half a lap of overtaking before Williamson can get to the front. And I'm not going to say he can rest easy now because Gordy Much, let's see what happens here. About a lap ago, I did say that Gordy Much wouldn't be as patient as Fraser Williamson. Fraser cuts back on the exit. I think he's cut that just that little bit too tight. Here comes Gordy Much with a good run up alongside him. He's already passed as they are 11 minutes and 13 laps into this race. Much goes back to the front. They're side by side in towards Duffy's Dip. This will be side by side through the apex. What happens at the bottom? Williamson though takes it back going through Leslie's. And this Andy Alston is going to run and run and run towards the end of the race for the last 4 minutes.
Now, what do you do if you're Michael Weddle? Because you've got two cars here fighting tooth and nail. Do you decide to try and follow P2 through and then just get the move as if Gordy's just...
move.
Oh, that's a very good bit of driving there from Gordy Much. Fraser Williamson not giving it up without a fight, but just keep an eye on the orange number 7 car that we're riding on board with here. Michael Weddle will want a piece of the action. He goes outside. Perhaps he's going to try and get a cutback on Gordy Much here because Gordy has just gone a little bit wide there just in kind of late apex. But I think this is an interesting dilemma here for Michael Weddle.
Yeah, definitely.
When will he make a move? Under 3 minutes to go in this race, but Gordy Much back in the lead.
Back in the lead, but not fully alongside. I still think McIntyre's is going to be a place where somebody is going to have to pull the most incredible block pass if they can up the inside. Williamson goes for the inside there, takes it, and Gordy Much tries to cut back. Was that a little bit of rubbing contact on the exit of the corner as they come down and through the chicane? Williamson and Much almost side by side. Here comes Michael Weddle up the inside into Clark's. He gets one. Weddle's going to get two of them into Clark's. What a manoeuvre from Michael Weddle. Sensational, but Gordy Much sees what's happening, and he will now have the inside line as we almost go 3 wide. We go back to 2 wide. Williamson back into the lead. That was a sensational move from Weddle. Andy Alston called it. What do you do when you wait for the opportunity coming towards you? Michael Weddle did that. Contact at the hairpin with Williamson and Much. And that puts Gordy Much down to 3rd place. And here comes Michael Weddle again with that good drive. 13 minutes into the race. 15 laps off the race. We're very sorry we're not focusing too much further down the field. This, though, is where the action is. Michael Weddle a little bit slow there. Here comes Gordy Much through Leslie's. Up the inside into McIntyre's. But now half a second is the lead of Fraser Williamson. And if he can hold that, this looks like a possible race to victory for him. But Gordy Much will throw caution to the wind. He does not have to worry about a championship. He is here only for race victories. And that is what he wants. He's already picked one up tonight. He wants to pick another one up in race number 2 as we go back to 8th place and watch Robert McGregor fighting Mark Hearn and Ryan Smith with Peter Mackay down in 11th place, who is nowhere near Ronald Grossman, so that will make him very, very happy just now.
What a couple of laps that has been. It must be said. Fantastic driving at the front. Robert McGregor is doing a valiant job here. He's battling on with so much damage on the rear of that car, and in 8th place at the moment. Good scrap here between him and Mark Heron, with lots of cars also looking to get involved in the mix there. There is the red and blue car of Robert McGregor. You can just see the rear wing there. Also, it's just dipped ever so slightly, and that is costing him here. And then almost back at the front though. Look at that, Fraser Williamson in the lead of the race. Under a tenth of a second is the gap between him and Gordy Much. Gordy goes side by side into Clark, and Gordy Much takes the lead once more of this race. So it's Much from Williamson. Michael Weddle still in 3rd place here and looking to get into the mix. Will he perhaps try a cutback here? He's just had to lift off the throttle, however, just before the braking zone into the chicane. And let's see if Weddle can get involved in this scrap here. Williamson from Much. Could they potentially? Surely not. Will they go 3 wide into Dovis? They will indeed. This will be the last lap of race number 2. 3 wide they go. Williamson's on the inside. Can Williamson take the lead of the race? Side by side he goes. Him and Gordy Much exchanging places on entrance. But it could well be Fraser Williamson. And oh, dearie me, Gordy Much is still managing to hold on to the lead here. Gordy Much now in lead as they jump over the chicane. It's much from Williamson. Michael Weddle in third place. The order as it is at the moment could be completely different when we come out of the exit of the chicane.
Sensational driving from Gordy Much there. He knew what he needed to do. He didn't give Fraser Williamson much in a way of deciding what he was doing. He almost dictated where he was having to put his car. Much on the inside at the hairpin. Williamson on the outside. It's going to be a drag to the line. What can Flymo do from third place unless something disastrous goes wrong for Gordy Much? He's going to make it 2 out of 2 as he does now. Second place for Williamson. And Michael Weddle comes across for third place. Fourth place for the garage mechanic, Scott Smith. He'll be delighted with that one in car number 5, and a very lonely drive for Scott Smith as well to come home in fifth place. Jack Eyre in car number 13. But the story of the race, all about Gordy Much fighting with Fraser Williamson and Michael Flymo Weddle, giving us some of the best onboard footage that we have had this year from any eSports race. Further down, Cameron Ritchie comes home behind Mark Chappell as he crosses the line for 15th and 16th place for Chappell and 16th yet for Ritchie as we just chalk that one off. But that, ladies and gentlemen, was pretty sensational sim racing. Thank you very much, Gordy Much, Fraser Williamson and Mikey Flymo Weddle. Well, Gordy Much obviously enjoyed it. He's still celebrating all the way around in towards the hairpin. So we have a little bit of a break now before we come back for race number 3. So why not go and grab yourself a nice cold drink from the fridge if you're doing dry January? Well, that's entirely up to you, but we'll have one after this race. I think we need one, Andy Alston. Remember, keep it in mind as well for the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. We want to know who you think is deserved of that accolade today. But this is the SMRC Esports Winter Cup. This is brought to you by Sim Broadcast, live stream partner for your sim racing event. Andy, I think we should come back after a quick kind of commercial break. So don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be back in a couple of minutes. Back once again for more Knockhill action, the third and final race from round 3 of the Knockhill International eSports, SMRC eSports Winter Cup. And yeah, you can see I'm a little bit tongue-tied. Well, no wonder after that race number 2, so would you be if you're the commentator. Round 4 is the next one for us next Wednesday. Legends racing at Knockhill, something extremely close to my heart. It'll be interesting to see how the guys get on racing the Legends around Knockhill. The Coupe 34 Ford, the actual shape of the car, which I race myself. So, Andy, I won't be too critical of them, I promise, but I bet they end up all lapping faster than I do. Sunny skies at Knockhill, a packed house. Ryan Smith, Owen Ross, John Higgins Jr., Jack Ayre, Scott Smith and Michael Weddle make up the first 6 places, with Fraser Williamson and Gordy Much down 7th and 8th. Mark Hearn, Cameron Bryden, Sean Dobie and Peter Mackay 11th and 12th.
It's Robert McGregor alongside Michael Johnston, Mark Chappell, Cameron Ritchie, Tom Jones, David Bolton, Dale Smith with Adam Brown in 20th place. It's John Duncan alongside Ethan Gardner, Jonathan Glover in 23rd, Ronald Grossman in 24th place.
Now, myself and Andy Alston have been talking about the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. John Higgins Jr. was somebody who was floated past us, and also Scott Smith, the Knockhill Garage Mechanic. So we're going to base it on race 3. So let's see exactly what happens here as the lights start to come on. No Michael McPherson on the grid, I'm told in my ears, as we have a full complement of lights. Lights out, down we go to Duffus Dip for the first time. It's a good start from Ryan Smith, from Owen Ross, another man who was featuring in the Reese Motorsport Insurance chat as well. These guys will hold off. Higgins, Ayre, Smith and Weddle all come through, as well as everybody else. Here's Gordy Much behind Fraser Williamson just now. Much starting in that 8th place after the reverse grid for the top 8. Round to come, everybody fans out through McIntyre's, which is turn 3 before you go down towards Butchers, and then over the crest of that black circle chicane. But as we come into Clark Corner, Owen Ross goes up the inside and takes the lead from Ryan Smith, and a little bit of contact on the exit of Clark's as they go 3 wide. Smithy's on the grass on one side, and that looked like, was it Jack Ayre? It's John Higgins Jr., who now hits the front as they come in towards the hairpin. So come on then, Junior. We've talked to talk, you've walked to walk. Let's see what you've got in race number 3 in the Skip Barber car as the melee, and I think I can call it that and get away with it, Andy, leave the hairpin and up the main straight. John Higgins Jr. from Jack Ayre and Owen Ross, your top 3 just now. We'll look further down. Still in 8th place, Gordy Much, chasing down Fraser Williamson and Michael Weddle as Jack Ayre has a go at Junior. No! John Higgins Jr. off he goes. Now, was he pushed? Scott Smith off there as well. We'll have to get a replay of that, Andy Alston, because there's cars going everywhere. Now, was Junior pushed there, or did he jump by himself? That's what we need to see. Back at base, we can hear Pete and Mo typing away. This is a replay. Now, let's watch John Higgins Jr. He goes over the crest of the hill, and it's just too much of a direction change at the bottom. Round he goes. Scott Smith is helped off by the red car, which will be Owen Ross into the gravel trap, and then still cars crashing in sympathy at the bottom of the screen. Sorry for giggling there, but that looked quite funny from where I'm sitting. But that does ultimately destroy quite a few drivers' races, which is a huge shame for John Higgins Jr., but we've seen it all too many times. Junior throws away a perfectly good lead there, and he will be kicking himself for that just now. And how has Gordy Much now got back to the front? Or how is he now leading this race? Much from Flymo, Williamson up the inside of Ryan Smith, and Andy Alston, I think it's about time we brought you in. What did you make of that turn 2 incident?
I think if I was Jack Ayre, I would be absolutely devastated, because he could have quite easily made his way into the lead of this race here. He braked well in time, but then was just collected by the drama unfolding behind him. Jack Ayre could well have made his way through into lead of this race with a quite considerable lead into the bargain as well, but unfortunately he is down into 8th place, no doubt with all sorts of damage as well. So it's Gordy Much leading this one, but Michael Weddle's got something to say about that. Weddle is the orange car on the outside though into the chicane. Fraser Williamson's back into 3rd place. Fraser Williamson could be into 2nd place. Side by side does Weddle and Williamson go, but Gordy Much going very, very narrow as they make their way along the start-finish line. So it's Gordy Much from Michael Weddle. Fraser Williamson just waiting in the wings. Side by side is Weddle and Much. They're exchanging places on the entrance into Duffus, but it's Gordy Much who will retain the lead of this race. Michael Weddle in 2nd. Fraser Williamson biding his time in 3rd place.
What Gordy Much did up the main straight there was very, very clever. He knew that in his slipstream was Weddle and he was gaining, so he just pulled across and started to give a little bit of a slipstream to Fraser Williamson, and ultimately Weddle losing that slipstream, so it took just a little bit of the momentum away from himself. Very clever move there from Gordy Much. I like that. Tip my hat to the young man. 100% in towards the open we go. I've got to say though, I think Michael Weddle will be a lot different from Fraser Williamson on the attacking front towards Gordy Much. We spoke off air and just said that Fraser's so clinical, so precise every lap, every corner. But sometimes, Andy, you just need to throw that little bit caution to the wind and just, take that big deep breath and head for the apex and try and get past the man in front of you. As we have 5 laps into race number 3 just now. It's the usual trio at the front of Much, Weddle and Williamson. A great showing from Ryan Smith, who's in 4th place, and Mark Heron in 5th place. Jack Ayre holds off Robert McGregor, and that's not a place I'd like to be, as Robert McGregor uses a little bit more gravel around the outside of the corner than is necessary, and he's just ahead of Cameron Bryden, whose dad, Paul Bryden, races a beautiful BMW Solution F car for the KMSC in the Mod Sports. Let's see how that young man gets on. But Mark Hearn ahead of Ryan Smith as they head towards the hairpin. These cars, Andy, pretty similar in paint job, but good drivers each car.
Yes, absolutely. Ryan Smith, though, in the prime position here. He has got the inside line, but back at the front. Gordy Much, 0.4 of a second is the gap between him and Williamson. Oh, a little bit of contact between Smith and Heron. Heron momentarily in the lead of this race, but Ryan Smith, the 94 car, does have the inside line going into Duffy, so that will surely give him the position. And Mark Heron does indeed appear to concede the line there going into the entrance of the corner. So it is Ryan Smith who will take 4th place of the race. Mark Hearn in 5th. Jack Ayre now up into 6th from 8th a couple of laps ago. Let's follow Jack Ayre here as we make their way up the chicane. Just notice there, Jack's just avoiding the left hand side of the curb there. Just a little bit more cautious going into the chicane for the 6th time of asking, but it looks like Heron's made a mistake. That is bringing Ryan Smith and indeed Jack Ayre into contention. Heron goes from 4th to 6th in the space of one corner, but Jack Ayre could well be going into 4th place in this race. Side by side they go, but Jack Ayre's got the inside line and he has made a nice clean move there and goes into 4th. Can he hold on to the position though?
Yeah, Mark Hearn made the manoeuvre into Clark's and ultimately got past Ryan Smith, but then cost himself drive on the exit. And you see that, Jack Ayre, he just headed for the apex going towards the open. Man after my own heart. I did like that as he comes sideways over the top of Duffus and then through Leslie's. These cars do look like they have quite a lot of movement underneath them as Robert McGregor holds off. Who is that? Scott Smith as Ronald Grossman. It is Ronald Grossman and Cameron Bryden just behind him there. Robert McGregor under huge pressure, and he will not be liking that. Well, Robert McGregor, the gearbox getting almost nudged on that Skip Barber car as they go up towards Clark Corner. For the 7th time of asking in this race, where are the laps all going? It's going so quickly as McGregor then defends in towards the hairpin. The MSR racing driver has Grossman on the outside. But Robert positions himself on the inside, leaves a big gap at the apex, and Grossman parks his car on the inside, and it's a drag race up the top of the hill. Grossman will take that position as they go over the crest of Duffus. But let's just stick with this and see how brave Robert McGregor is. Can he hold this side by side through the top of Duffus, or will he back in behind? And we still have to see somebody having a manoeuvre in towards McIntyre's. And Robert McGregor thinks about it, but yeah, bails out of that one because he would have probably ended up in the side of Ronald Grossman. Gordy Much still leads at the front and right on cue. You think we'd actually choreographed that. Pete flicks back with the director's role, and we pick up Much, Williamson and Weddle, and they've all pulled away 4.8 seconds they have over Jack Ayre, who's in 3rd place. Well, Williamson's got himself into 2nd place. What can he do about Gordy Much? He's surely not going to just follow Gordy Much and, offer him 3 race wins. I see this being a bit of a different Fraser Williamson, Andy Alston. Do you agree? Do you think we're going to see a bit more caution to the wind?
Well, we've got halfway gone in this race, so still very much all to play for. I think Fraser Williamson's just this part of the lap. I don't think he's interested in making a move on Gordy here. I think if he's going to do it, he's going to try it at the chicane. But Gordy's a very experienced driver in real world and sim, and he'll be well aware that that's where Fraser's going to try and make that move. And you're seeing him just taking that very narrow line on the exit of Clark, and just it forces Williamson with nowhere to go. But that is in turn bringing Michael Weddle into the mix as well, and that's the real headache here for Fraser Williamson as well. Here's once more, Gordy goes narrow. Fraser's got to go outside He can try a cutback. They can go side by side here, but Fraser Williamson locks up, and Michael Weddle says, thanks very much, I'll go side by side. Now Williamson's got another headache because Gordy Much pulls across into the inside line. That gives Michael Weddle the toe, and Michael Weddle could well go into second place in this race. So across the start-finish line they've already gone. Much from Williamson. Michael Weddle not quite close enough this time round, but he is putting all kinds of pressure on Fraser Williamson. Gordy Much, the rear of the car, dancing under braking there into McIntyre, but managing to hold on once more to the lead of this race. Three of them now making their way up the chicane, bouncing over the curbs. Williamson just a little bit wider than Gordy Much on that time on exit, but just not quite close enough once more to make the pass.
Jack here for the win. In fourth place. It could happen. These three are getting just a little bit too close for comfort in certain areas of the track. And look at that. Williamson bouncing about on the car. Shows you just how soft and pliable that car is. We've said it before. It's very, very similar to the Formula 4 2000 car, which is raced in America. But up the main straight, they come looking for either a slipstream or to break the toe from Michael Weddle is Fraser Williamson. And Fraser thinking about going up the inside, but has to go around outside because on the inside is Gordy Much side by side over the top of Duffus. Big move from Williamson here, but Much is on the inside and he will not give up. Can Williamson cut back? Can he hold it on the outside and go two abreast through Butchers and get the left-hand side of the chicane? Much is there. What's going to happen? Hold your breath. Through the chicane they go, giving each other room. Here comes Flymo, getting all the run through the chicane. Gets alongside, but Michael Weddle backed out of that, going up the back straight on Gordy Much here, because he knows if he goes past there, he's going to lose the momentum through Clark's and onto Hislops as they come through towards the hairpin just now. Sensational stuff. 11 minutes or 11 laps and 10 minutes into this third and final race here at Knockhill Racing Circuit. Gordy Much, the R8G driver in the virtual Le Mans series, putting under pressure Fraser Williamson. And R8G, that's Romain Grosjean's race team in an LMP2 car. Shows you just how much of a driver Gordy Much is as he comes round the outside of Fraser Williamson. Now, is he going to try and go up into the McIntyres? A move that we've not seen anybody do yet. Defending goes Williamson, and Much faster through the corner. He's about to go around the outside as they come to chicane. Sensational stuff from Gordy. That was an amazing bit of sim racing for Gordy Much to pull off there, but you've got to give just as much kudos and credit to Fraser Williamson for not having a coming together with them going through Butcher's, McIntyre's or the chicane, Andy.
Both drivers putting on a real show here, and it's not done yet. Michael Weddle could well get into the mix here also, because look at this, Weddle's now going to try take a late apex here and try and just reel in these two cars. Williamson not close enough. Well, Williamson's having to already commit. He's not been close enough to take a bit of slipstream with him. So Williamson now goes side by side. Williamson momentarily goes into the lead of this race. A little bit of traffic getting out of the way there. Williamson could surely make this one stick, and he does indeed. Fraser Williamson retakes the lead of this race, takes a narrow defensive line into McIntyre as well. Will he park that car on the exit there? And he does indeed do just that. I wondered if Fraser Williamson was just going to plant that car on the exit of the curb there, and he does just that. So Williamson will retain the lead of this race from Gordy Much. Michael Weddle, who we're riding on board with here, will be wondering, with just about 3 minutes or so left in this race, could he potentially grab a race win here? Because these two guys are scrapping tooth and nail. Nice clean driving between the pair of them, but it only takes one coming together to bring Michael Weddle into the lead of this race.
Jack Hare is not out of this one, by the way. He's only 1.6 seconds off the actual leader, and if they keep tripping each other up as the way they're doing, and not really caring much about the lap time, because they're currently lapping mid to high 55s, which I'm going to say slow, faster than I could do, side by side into Duffus dip. Through the top of Duffus they go. It's Williamson and Much. That's so close. That was contact there. Here comes Weddle around the outside of Gordy Much. Can he do the manoeuvre which Gordy just pulled on Fraser Williamson? No, Michael a little bit more conservative there as they go through the chicane, rumbling through. And look, Jack Hare is now with them. So we've gone from having a 3-car battle to 4-car battle. There's more contact tapping off the gearbox for Much and Williamson as they go into Clark Corner. Okay, Jack Hare, you've sat and watched this for the last 4 laps. What have you got in your rethink locker for the last remaining 3 minutes of this race? Because you don't have time to sit and bide. Time is of the essence, and I think you're very short of essence right now as through goes Gordy Much on the inside of the hairpin. He's back into the lead, but here comes Fraser Williamson to repay that manoeuvre up the main straight into Duffus Dip. And Michael Weddle gets right into an area where he's almost having to back out of the throttle because he's literally nowhere to go much this time. Lots of aggression round the outside, side by side through Duffus and Leslie's. Then he'll try and cut back through the inside. No, he doesn't. He puts it on the outside of Fraser Williamson, and this is a trademark Gordy Much manoeuvre as they go through chicane. He's back into the lead as they just avoid contact on the exit of the corner. And here comes Michael Weddle again. Weddle, though, a little bit reluctant to put that car into a place where he thinks he's going to compromise his exit because he's now got company, Andy Alston, and that's Jack Eyre.
Jack Eyre and Michael Weddle both pushing with everything they've got. Both got an off track there on the exit of Clark's as well. And that just shows how quickly they are going here. But Jack Eyre's been taking 5 or 6 tenths of a second out of these 3 cars with every lap because they've been scrapping. Jack Eyre almost going side by side with his Rethink Racing teammate Michael Weddle. Just backs out of it. Back at the front though, Williamson on the outside, Gordy Much on the inside. They will exchange places once more on the entrance into Duffus, but it looks like Gordy Much potentially has this one covered because he's still holding on to the inside line into McIntyre. Side by side once more they go. Williamson's got the momentum on the outside, but will he be able to do the move onto Gordy here? And yes, he does. Fraser Williamson makes the move on the outside before they even reach the chicane, so Williamson's in the lead of the race. Gordy Much has the momentum though. Look at this, under 2 tenths of a second between the pair of them. They come on the outside of Clark Corner round, and it looks like Fraser Williamson could potentially park that car on the entrance to this corner. Will Gordy Much make a last-ditch manoeuvre to try and take the win, though?
He's on the outside. Gordy Much needs to try and get a good exit. He has got a good exit here. He's alongside. We're going to just scrape one more lap in as we cross the line. Williamson goes into second place. Much takes the white flag, which is the last lap in iRacing, and he also puts himself into lead. Weddle now wants to get himself firmly involved in this as they come through Duffus, Dip and Leslie's. 4 cars all nose to tail, and Jack Eyre is very much with something to say about the back of Michael Weddle as well. But now we're seeing Gordy Much put together 4 absolutely fabulous clinical corners, and he's put 2 tenths of a second into himself and Fraser Williamson as we hit Clark Corner for the last time of asking. A good apex and exit the corner is just what the doctor ordered, and Gordy Much comes round towards the apron, and he will almost be able to breathe a sigh of relief because he'll be able to put himself in the middle of the road. Williamson's not going to go up the outside and make that stick as they come through the corner. It looks like Gordy Much, who drops a wheel into the gravel, will take race number 3 and make it 3 out of 3 from Gordy Much, from Fraser Williamson, Michael Weddle in 3rd place, and Jack Eyre in 4th place. For any young budding sim drivers, that is worth a watch again. That is some of the best sim racing I, Andy Alston, have ever seen.
No, terrific driving throughout there. Really, really great stuff. Just exchanging positions corner after corner, but nice clean driving as well. And Gordy Much will be absolutely delighted to have made it 3 wins from 3. Reverse grid as well, of course, thrown into the mix as well for the finale. But great action throughout, and Gordy Much, I'm sure he will be delighted with his performance here tonight.
Flymo heads to the grass to do a little bit for the sponsors there on the right-hand side of Clark Corner. But I think we need to look at the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day, because really there only is one man we can give that to, and it's the winner of all 3 races, Andy Alston. I think we're unanimously giving Gordy Much the tag of not just the Driver of the Day in our hearts, but also the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. As we see on screen now, that man who came, saw, and definitely conquered the SMRC eSports Winter Cup. That was how sim racing should be. It couldn't have been any closer. There was hardly any contact, and that was some brilliant overtaking and showing just how it should be done. It was great racing throughout the whole field, but especially at the front. And the introduction of Gordy Much for this one-off event really has put a bit of a spark and a spring in everybody's step. That was the last lap leaving the hairpin, and that wheel in the gravel could have ultimately put a little bit of a dent in the exit for Gordy Much. But Fraser Williamson just didn't have enough in his locker to head up the main straight. But what we're going to do now, I think, Andy Alston, if we've got our breath back and we've lubricated our throats, we can see our virtual waiting room is kind of starting to fill up. Everybody's in there, all 3, and even Robert McGregor's come into the room, so it's going to be fun, that's for sure. We'll head over to our Discord channel now, and we can let's pick up with the man himself. Let's get our Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day, Gordy Much, into the room, because that It was pretty sensational driving all round. Gordy Much, first of all, welcome to the SMRC eSports Winter Cup. That, mate, was fabulous. How are you? So, Gordy Much, into our virtual commentary box waiting area. How are you doing? First of all, sensational driving there, buddy.
Thank you very much. I think everyone drove, really, really well within that battle. So, thanks to Michael and Fraser for driving so well, keeping it clean, and making it such an enjoyable evening. I'm sure it was a great show for you guys and everyone watching.
Oh, the smile factor for the commentary box and the laughing was pretty strong. But for you, when you're going side by side through the top of Duffy Step and Leslie's and McIntyre's and pulling off overtaking manoeuvres before the chicane, have you got a smile on your face as you're doing it?
Yeah. Well, there was a few times in that last race where we were side by side going through the chicane, which was quite scary. But maybe there was a bit of concern going into the corners. But every time we made it out alive, there was for sure a smile on the face. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. It was awesome.
Well, also congratulations need to be given to you for getting the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. There really was only one person we could give it to, because I'm not going to say it was a demonstration, but it was clinical driving. You really were very strong. Is the Skip Barber car something that you've had a lot of practice in? Is it something you know very well?
Not necessarily. However, in all fairness, with iRacing, I have a lot of experience with. Of course, I work as a professional driver in the Sims, so and of course it helps with the extra bit of track knowledge with Knockhill. Of course, iRacing have done such a phenomenal job with Knockhill that my knowledge from real life is definitely translated into the Sims. So that for sure helps as well.
So when do we see you next in the sim world? Are you doing the 24-hour Le Mans virtual?
Unfortunately, I have to sit out this next round, which is a bit of a shame. But possibly in for Daytona 24-hour in iRacing and a few other big events coming up, which I'm excited to share soon.
And for the real world racing in 2022, where do we see Gordy Much positioning himself?
We have some big news on that coming soon, which I'm super, super excited to share.
Can you leak it to us? Can you give us a glimmer of where you're going to be?
I need to be very, very careful with what I say, but I think for next year we're going to see me driving in some very, very fast and very, very beautiful cars. Just keep an eye on the social medias. Some announcements hopefully should be made within the next few weeks, which I'm extremely excited to share with everyone.
Well, Gordy, we'll look forward to seeing that, buddy. Thank you very much for coming along tonight. It's been fabulous to see you, and well done being the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day. We'll let you head off, go and get yourself a cup of tea or whatever you need to do to calm down after that. We'll get Fraser
I'll need
in.
it. Yeah,
I bet you do, buddy. Talk soon, buddy.
All right. Thank you, Duncan. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye. And let's get the man who was chasing him, who'll probably be covered in gearbox oil, Fraser Williamson. Andy, Fraser Williamson, what a star. I've got to say that. And we've talked about him so many times, but I'll let you take over and give Fraser the old hee-ho.
Absolutely. Fraser Williamson, that was 3 absolutely dramatic races. I almost don't know where to start because there was so many big talking points along the way between yourself and Gordy, but you must have thoroughly enjoyed the action out there tonight.
Yeah, that's I'm genuinely a bit out of breath and a bit taken back by how good all 3 races were. It's a nice change to have 3 good races, although 3 seconds, which is annoying. I couldn't find a way to get it to stick on him, but he's an incredibly good driver. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to defend and attack around this track as well as anyone, I'd guess. So yeah, 3 seconds, I can't really complain.
Oh, and one recurring theme that we noticed throughout the action between you and Gordy was just you're trying that cutback on the exit of the hairpin, but it was almost like the car just didn't hit. It was as if there was an extra maybe 15-20 horsepower maybe in the Skippy that could have got you through. But some fantastic side-by-side action and very clean, very fair racing between the pair of you. But is there one moment in particular, one overtake perhaps that kind of stands out that you enjoyed more than most?
Well, none of them because he didn't last more than a lap in front. But no, it's the fact that we survived the chicane too wide a couple of times was something I didn't expect to happen all season. And just the fact that it went on for so long, no contact, nobody crashed out. It was just good, clean racing. It's good to race Gordon. I've been many races with him, but we've always been in different classes, so it's good to finally go with him.
Absolutely. And Fraser, just finally, I have to get your thoughts on these the Legends cars next week. What are you thinking ahead of that one? Is that how you're looking forward to getting behind the wheel with?
I've driven it once around here and I spun in the chicane. And Sim, it'll be good. There's less drafting those cars in the Skippy, so the pack should break up even more than what it did tonight. It will make overtakes mean a lot more. We won't be able to just keep going back on each other into the hairpin and over the start finish. So yeah, an overtake's going to mean a lot more next week than it did this week.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Fraser, thanks very much for joining. It was great to watch you out there on track and look forward to seeing how you get on next week in the Legends. Thanks very much.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah, great stuff. I mean, he drove so well tonight on 3 second places, but yeah, too wide through the chicane twice to survive it. They'll be delighted with that one. Michael Weddle, let's grab Michael in because one moment that does stick in my mind, race number 1, where Flymo decided to take 3/4 of the curb and a little bit more going through the chicane. And ultimately, Michael, that cost you what I think could have been a bit of maybe a second place in race number 1. Not that I want to remind you of that horrible moment, but what a race. You had probably the best seat in the house for the entire 3 races there.
You know what? I was so nervous racing those two because this car is so skittish. I was just trying to stay alive for the full thing. But no, that was really good racing. I'm just glad to survive it and didn't take any of them out.
Yeah, I see you were doing the sponsors a little bit towards the end. They're disappearing onto the grass. But, side by side through Duffus Dep, through McIntyre's, how easy are these cars actually to control? Are they kind of user-friendly? They look quite soft and easy-ish to get around the curbs here.
It's the first few laps. I think you've seen it in the second race. Gordy was really struggling with the cold tyres. He was sliding all over the place, and even I was keeping up. But they're just, it's a weird one. They're just very oversteery on exit, so they just seem to just want to drift off. So as soon as you get on the power, the whole thing just does not want to do anything that you want it to do. So to keep the momentum going is the main thing, and the draft in these cars are unbelievable. So if you can stay within a second of the guys in front, you can kind of just latch on behind them, and that's kind of what I was doing.
There was a couple of times where you almost had to, you're gaining that much on the straight, you were having to almost back out the throttle. There was a few times into Clark's as well. It looked like you could have gone up the inside, but it was a very different Michael Weddle that I thought we were seeing. Is that the case?
If I was in my Mini, probably would have taken a few doors with me. But in this car, I wasn't confident in the slightest sending up the inside. So I thought it's best just lacking on behind. To be honest, I was kind of hoping they two might have taken each other out and might have nipped up in between them, but it wasn't to be.
Michael, it was great to watch you out there. You gave us some fabulous racing. Thank you very much. Gordy Much taking the Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the day. Fraser Williamson getting 3 second places, and yourself as well. A fabulous drive to see there. We look forward to seeing you in the Legend. Is it a car that you're looking forward to?
It's round about the same sort of characteristics. Well, when I say that, you probably think I sound stupid, but in the sense it's very sketchy. So it's kind of, you've just got to balance the throttle a lot more in the Legend. I mean, you're the man, the legend behind the legend. So, you would have to tell me what to do. Actually, I might have to give you a wee message during the week.
Well, I'm not going to be too critical if you promise. But I do look forward to that. Listen, congratulations. Go and get yourself a nice cool drink after that. You guys definitely deserve it. We'll catch up with you next week, Michael.
Looking forward to it, guys. See you then.
Thank you very much. Okay. Jack here. Definitely Jack here, because he was on for another lap there, Andy, and he's probably on for a podium, wasn't he? Or maybe even something a bit better.
Potentially, and Jackie, I wonder if you could even have taken that race win, particularly in that finale. But then, there was a bit of drama ahead of you. You slowed down going into McIntyre's, did everything right, and then it was just carnage unfolding behind you, and there was just not a lot you could have done about it.
Yeah, just did my best to get out of it and keep myself clean. Largely what happened in race 2 as well, so I dropped down to like 12th. Just, certainly I probably put my car where I shouldn't have done in race 2 and wasn't really entitled to the space I thought I was. But yeah, I had to do a lot of avoiding in race 2 as well. But those guys did the best to scrap towards the end, and I don't think I'd have won unless they'd have killed each other. But it was good to at least get up to him, even if it was only for 2 laps.
No, definitely. And Jack, we're just watching the replay here of that big incident there. You slow down, you do everything right, really, and then it's just 2 cars side by side. There's nothing you can do at all. But what was the car like to drive? It looked like a little bit of damage at the front. Was it? How did it feel going around the track?
Initially, I thought, well, the car that hit me with their wheel. It was quite a square impact because I'd got a bit of lock on. Whether iRacing takes that into account when it applies damage, I don't know. But it felt fine, and I pushed as usual. And then as the fuel came out, pushed a bit more. And they just scrapped until they're out with content, and that's what really enabled me to catch up. I wasn't too fast, but yes, I enjoyed it.
And of course, we've got the final race in our Winter Cup next week. In the Legends here once more at Knockhill. What's your thoughts on that car? Because Michael was just saying there, it's a car you've got to be kind of gentle on the throttle with, but it's also a car that's got a lot of personality, shall we say?
Yeah, you'll see a lot of people booting it, and they'll be getting quite a lot of slip because it's so short wheelbase. It does not want to be going in a straight line, regardless of what you do. But yeah, it's going to be fun. It's quite twitchy, but then this track's really narrow, so I'm hoping that the racing will be really good.
Good stuff. And Jack, we look forward to seeing you out there on track next week. Jack, thanks very much for speaking to us after the race.
Cheers, boys. Thank you.
Nice one, Jack here. We look forward to seeing him in a Legend. And okay, everybody, human swear jar himself. Let's get Robert McGregor in, and we will remind him that we're live streaming. So there's no penny for the swear jar this time, Robert McGregor. But how are you? How was that? How was that event for you? Because 117 car was very much in the action all the way through 3 races there.
Yeah, it was pretty good fun. I enjoyed it. I got a rubbish qualifying, which kind of put me towards kind of 20th position further back. And first race, I got a really good start, and then it just kind of went on from there. So, yeah, I can't complain.
Have you got a new microphone? You're sounding very clear now. I've got to say that. You sound good.
Yeah, I smashed my headset mic yesterday. So I've got a real studio microphone. So
it sounds like I'm listening to Jeremy Vine. So, okay, there's enough issues in this race for you to talk about. So, for yourself, though, I mean, some of the racing at the front there was incredible, but it wasn't just at the front. The racing was like that all the way through the pack. Yourself, Scott Smith, Ryan Smith, involved in huge battles, as we can see you coming through the chicane there with Jack Air behind you. What was your best moment? What stands out in your memory for that?
I think one moment was passing Ryan Smith up the inside of McIntyre's. That was probably one of my kind of featured moments. It was quite a good pass. I lined him up and just took him. But then again, in the same race, I spun it at the hairpin on the last lap. So that put me back into 13th or 14th for the last race start. And then I made about 5 positions off the start line. So I was back up into the top 10 again. So, yeah, I can't complain. I'm a wee bit toasty at the moment. I might need to get a wee fan. John needs to stop messaging me at the moment.
Toasty as in warm, right? Okay, yeah. John Higgins Senior will be giving you a message saying, "Come on, you need to breathe when you're speaking, won't he?"
No, he's just saying yawn. It's just I don't know if I make people fall asleep or what, but I don't know.
We'll let you off with that. What was your take on that race 3 incident going in towards McIntyre's? What did you see happening? Was it race 3 or race 2? I can't remember which one it was. I think it was race 3 when we saw Junior going. He lost it going through Leslie's. Where were you positioned in all that?
Well, Junior's just an amateur, so I was coming downhill, and Junior was on the microphone like, "Oh, I've spun it," and then I've seen 3 other cars go off into McIntyre's, and I was just like, just don't go down the hill and like hit anyone. I was like very, very, very careful going down the hill, and I made about 3 or 4 positions out of that. So, and then Jack Air caught me, and to be fair, I let him pass because I didn't want to hold him up. He was quite quick. So, and that Ronald Grosman was quick as well. So I couldn't keep them behind. But then after that, I tried to catch up to guys in front like Mark Heron. I just couldn't catch him. So.
No, ultimately, it looked like a good showing from you as we're seeing your onboard footage just now coming towards Duffus Dip. The legend we should speak to you about. You've got a pretty good driver coach in your MSR team with John Higgins himself, who's a multiple legend champion and world champion. Has he been giving you any advice on how to drive the little car?
No.
Oh, that's good then.
Nothing.
Well, that was a big build-up to nothing, wasn't it?
I think he will over the next couple of days. I'm pretty sure he will, and I'm pretty sure that you could give me some tips and tricks as well if you.
What I can say to you is not to do this as you're seeing on the screen just now. That's Junior, unfortunately, wiping himself out and taking. But I must say that Junior is your teammate, so there is a little bit of friendly rivalry. That's him. You could have T-boned him there for good measure, but look at that, you go round them.
But that's expected from Junior. That's just amateur, so. There's a difference.
This is going to get salty in the chat rooms, and I have no idea what that actually means. But Robert, thank you very much.
Give a wee shout out to James Warrior. He didn't do as well as he thought he should have done tonight, and yeah, I just want to say that it happens. So just brush it off and on to the next one.
Wow, words of wisdom from Robert McGregor. There you go. That's something I never thought anybody would ever hear. But thanks very much for popping in. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, yeah, you've got to make it through the week. Thank you very much, Robert McGregor. So that we'll quick disconnect him. Somebody, quick. There he goes. He's away, and that rounds up our broadcast for tonight. We do hope you enjoyed that. As I said to Andy Alston and everybody, if you want to watch eSports racing at its best, you need to go back and watch the replay of all 3 races here. We have been treated to something pretty special tonight on the SMRC eSports Racing Winter Cup. Join us next week, the 19th of January at 8 o'clock for the Legends. You'll see all the guys racing the same direction, clockwise configuration around Knockhill, and who will walk away with the final Reese Motorsport Insurance Driver of the Day accolade for the Winter Cup. Until then, thank you very much. I've been Duncan, Vincent, Andy Alston, the guys back at base, Pete and Mo for Sim Broadcasts, everybody from SMRC. Take care, and we'll see you next week.